Hello guys and gals, my name is Dr. Bettis at Dr. P Learning. At this channel, I teach project-based and hands-on CTE and STEM content. We focus on engineering-based projects, CAD, and 3D printing. If that is of interest to you, you're at the right place. Please like and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified when a new lesson is published. Okay, so let's get into today's lesson. Today the function is going to be blinking an LED. Arduino is a platform. It's basically a small computer here that we can program to control components like lights or motors and those kinds of things. Okay. The way that you use Arduino, the programs follow our commands and then carry out some function. Essentially what we're learning to do is how to control electricity to use it to do what you want or when you want to do it. As you can see from the diagram here, there are two power sources on the Arduino. One power source here is from battery, and then the other is that we can plug it into our computer. Now the cool thing is that not only will this power your Arduino, but after you program your Arduino, after you write the program in the Arduino IDE, you upload it then using the cable onto your Arduino. Alright. So we're going to go ahead and plug in our power source. I'm going to go ahead and flip this around just so that it's a bit easier. My computer happens to just be on this particular side, and you will hear a blinking sound there. Now it looks like I have a code written on there already, which is fine. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off because that might be a little bit distracting. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide. So if you look on the Arduino board, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom way in here, okay, you'll notice right here a little pin that says GND. Now that is your ground, and generally when I plug anything into the ground, if it's a wire, I always plug the black wire into the ground. And even most battery cables, like in your car or on other electronic devices, will use the black as the ground wire, and they'll use the red as the power wire. Okay? So ground is G and D, and pin 13 is what will, pin 13 happens to just be right next to the ground, as you can see in the picture here. Okay, and on this Arduino, or this Elegoo. I'm so sorry, I keep saying Arduino. Alright, so plug that in, and that's generally how that works. Now, I'm going to show you two different ways to do today's assignment. One is, I'll show you this way first, and then I'll show you the easy way second. How about that? Alright. So again, the ground is where the extra energy goes, and the pin 13 is the one that actually receives the voltage or the power. Okay, so if you look at your LED, bet you never looked at an LED this closely before. You'll notice that there are two sides. There's one with a shorter stem and one with just a slightly longer end there. Okay. Let me actually move this zoom out the way. See this a little bit better there. Okay. Alright. So with this, I'm going to go ahead and plug this into my breadboard here. Just have to remember which side is the is the long stem side and what side is the short stem side. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out just a little bit. I'll actually make it on the same side. So the long stem side will be on the same side as the red wire. We'll actually put it in pin 13. How about that? That actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, just like that. Alright. So again, remember that pin 13 is actually what receives the power. Ground is where the excess power goes. So as we're writing our code, there's a couple of things that I would like you to keep in mind. One is that anything that is written in black here is what is actually being communicating in the Arduino to make the light blink on and off. Okay, so the black is the critical part. The blue is my own description. Basically, I'm writing this code in my own words. What am I having the code actually do? So when you write your code, I'd like you to do the same thing. Again, it's important that you understand what you're doing, but it's also important that other people understand what you're doing as well. So as we are writing our code, and this is on the Arduino IDE, here's where we will write the code. So you'll notice that the first line that I have is title blink an LED. And you might be asking yourself, well, why did he put those two slash marks? Well, those two slash marks are what allow me to write in the Arduino IDE without it affecting the code. Okay, so the title here is blinking LED. This void setup. Now this basically says start. That's basically what this means. Now here's where we're going to put our setup code to run one time. So what that means is that we're going to tell the computer, we're going to tell the code that this pin, okay, we're going to activate pin 13, and we're going to say that this is an output. So basically we're sending electricity out to pin 13. And just like you use periods and exclamation marks to end a sentence, in coding language, to end a sentence, use a semicolon. Okay, so pin mode, PIN, capital MODE, and then parentheses, and the pin that we're going to be using is pin 13. Now you can use other pins, but the cool thing about pin 13 is it has a built-in resistor to it. Okay, so you don't actually need a resistor to limit the current. Now if you use pin 12, you'll need to use a resistor or another pin, because 5.7 volts or 5 volts will ultimately fry your LED. It's just too much voltage for the little LED to handle. Alright, so we set this pin 13, comma, and we're setting this as an output. That's a space there between the comma and output. Alright, and then my description here is set pin 13. Again, I have to put my two slash marks. Set pin 13 as an output. In other words, it receives electricity from the power source. Oops, I actually did that in all caps, so I guess I can just leave that for now. It doesn't really matter. Alright, so the next part of the code is the void loop. The void loop basically, the loop function runs over and over forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, not forever and ever, but until the battery runs out, as long as it's plugged in. Okay, it will run that long. And this is what you're gonna put your main code in here to run over and over and over. Now you notice that I'm not just copying and pasting from this side to this side. I'm actually writing out the codes. And I would encourage you to do the same thing. It really does help when you write this code out yourself. You're able to better check your own work. So go ahead and digital write. You notice that it changes orange. We're going to turn, so basically what we're saying is we're writing 13 and we're going to put this on a high state. Basically what this does is it sends electricity to pin 13. Basically what we're doing. Now it looks like we're turning on an LED, but we're technically not turning on the LED. We're just sending electricity to the LED. It happens to turn on, okay? Now, the next thing we want to do, if we want it to blink, is we need this to stay on for some period of time. Well, this amount of time, 1000, is actually 1000 milliseconds. So it's basically at 1 second. So this leaves the LED, actually it leaves the LED on, but it actually allows the electricity to flow for 1 second. Allows electricity to flow to LED for 1 second. Okay. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do, so since the LED is on, what do you think we need to do next? Oops, I forgot to write the D. Digital write 13. We said it was high for on, so what do you think off is? High, and you got it. Low. Alright. So this, if it sends electricity, restrict. It's another way to send, it's another way to say does not send. Restrict electricity to pin 13. Again, you're writing all this in your own words. Restricts electricity to pin 13. Okay, we're almost done. And then the last thing we need to do is we need to tell it to do some period of time. So delay, we'll do 500 like it is here. We're going to do some different times just to show you. And then this basically restricts electricity for half a second. I forgot to put my little slash marks there. Shame on me. And this, basically, this is the end of the code. So we're going to put end. Now here's where you will need to actually upload the code. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. I'm going to let it recognize my Arduino. And then I'm going to verify the code to make sure I wrote it right. It might ask you to save the Arduino code. Go ahead and save the code in your whatever location that it is you want. Give me 1 second to save this here. I'm going to call this test blink. I already have this code saved, but alright, and the sketching had to be modified. Okay, it's compiling the sketch, it's making sure that it's working. If there was an error, it would, for example, let me go ahead and make an error here. It will tell me where the error is located. Okay, and it says expected semicolon before digital write. So I need to make sure that I put the semicolon there. So it will tell you where the problem is located. All right, done. Now once it's done compiling and you're green, you're good to go, you go ahead and upload this code to your Arduino. The light will blink just like that, and then we'll switch back over, and now it's saying that it's done compiling. Well, you're like, hey man, it's not working. Right, so I gotta plug the lights in. I always plug in my ground first, so ground is on row 12 and power is on row 13. So that's 1000 milliseconds, which is 1 second, and 500 milliseconds. So let's go ahead and change these times. Let's go ahead and do delay 2000, and we'll do 1000 seconds to pretty bright there, so we can go ahead and upload that. Alright, see, and you can see the light turning on and off. Now, I can do this for a shorter period of time. Actually, it might come across pretty well. Now I'm going to show you the easy way, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and remove these wires. You don't actually need the wires. That's why it's so easy. You'll notice that the ground, let me turn this way. Zoom in here just real quick. And remove that. You notice that the ground and 13 are right next to each other. Pretty cool, huh? I think so. So take your LED, the long stem again goes into the pin 13 and the short stem into ground, and you can actually just really literally insert that there, and it actually works right off of your Arduino board. You're like, why didn't you just show us that in the first place? Well, I wanted you to get comfortable using your wires. I wanted to show you a couple of different ways to do this. I want to thank you for visiting Dr. P Learning. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. We will see you on the next lesson.